We know that in the logic of our loves, it is very easy to love when we are right to love. Even because sometimes in life we think that for love existing there is a reason. And this is usually how it works. Not only do we think it is how it works, love revolves a lot around the reasons. Now, the surprising is when you find that inside you there is an ability to love that is independent of the reasons. Let's say 90% of your love you love from reasons. It's very simple. The other does something that deserves its predilection. The other represents something that deserves the predilection. The other did something in life which opened his eyes to see you. And suddenly, your love naturally walked toward the one who awakened it in you. But you cannot deny that even when you have reasons to love someone, every now and then love bumps into you for no reason. And you discover a source of gratuity. The other did nothing for you. The other said nothing to you. But your gaze hit, and you were able to love him even without reasons. If I love naturally those who give me reason to love, and if much of my love, if the 90% of my love ability to be moved, they are towards those who give me reason. The conversion is that we get these 90 a little bit percent to give greater room to that love. That is not right, because only at the moment when we discover the love that is not right is that we will enter the deepest feeling that God taught us through Jesus. If you think Jesus had very few reasons to love yours, he betrayed it all the time. His friends betrayed. His friends lied to him. And if you humanly want to say that Jesus didn't have many reasons to keep loving your friends, you're right, because you do your analysis from this logic that is common today, which has always been common in the history of humanity. We continue to love as the other corresponds to what we expect from him. But what if the moment you stop corresponding and you find that you still love it? How many times have I, as a child, prayed that without understanding? Make my heart similar to yours. Having a heart similar to the heart of Jesus means you enter this less percentage of loving without reason and dilating. You don't even know 1% of humanity, but you can love this whole humanity. The meaning of Christian love puts us in the possibility of anyone that we find today for life, even if I do not have the opportunity to live, but my encounter is loving. There is a beautiful word that translates love, called kindness. Kindness is that demonstration of love. This free love. You have never seen that person in life, but at that moment, your reserve of love, this love that does not need reasons, exerted a dominion over you. And when you were dominated by this free love model, the whole world won in that gesture. Because where there is a person acting in the name of kindness, God's love will be prevailing in the world. Where there is a person today willing to live the love of gratuity, God will be winning from it. This is the challenge of all of us. You know very well how much you have free love within you. I know very well how much I have inside me. That's what we're talking about, my people. We are finding that when the other is unpalatable to me, I have to unfold toward him. It is not for the sake of vanity that you are better than him. No. It is for the hatred of the world to decrease from our ability to love. Sometimes we have so many people who don't like us, so many people who speak badly about us, who treat us badly. We don't have to give the same result. No, we will not negotiate with the same coin because so we make the world worse than it already is. I don't want a worse world, you want. I am sure that it is not. So make a difference in these small measures, and we grow up as a person. We approach Jesus. We talk so much that we want to be similar Jesus. But Jesus had an immense ease of loving those who hated him. Those who hated him, he loved anyway. Approaching those who treat us badly and offering a kindness gesture is a beautiful way we have to show that we are not at war. Because sometimes our silence can say that we are at war too, no? Approach. Treat well. Get well what arrives, even if he doesn't like you. The problem is his, he who doesn't like it. Do you make your effort to work your humanity? Why? 'Cause You don't want to join the chord of hatred in today's world. I think it's beautiful, my people, Jesus' ability to look at the miserable and think that this religion began like this, to think that all this is motivated by this mystique. The absurdity of a God who prefers the poor. The absurdity of a God who prefers the weak. The absurdity of a God who prefers sinners. You think that where human misery exists, even if it is the one that ashames us, there the love of God screams, asks for passage. Maybe we will gain a different, more merciful look, knowing that in the fragility of the other I am mirrored too. That when I look at sign on the other, I'm seeing mine too. That's why I may reject so much, because I'm seeing what I don't like to see in me. God has to open our eyes to these things, my people. Because all the time Jesus was busy with these people, he was not afraid. He was not afraid of prostitutes. He was not afraid of the thieves. Because he knew who he knew very well it was. Take possession in this specific way of Jesus being so that we can be in the small measures also like him. That does not fit within us, this vain holiness that distances us from others. No. If your holiness distances you from those who need your mercy, be careful. Because you may be on the wrong way. The more God is in us, the greater our ability to look at the world's calvaries and come to him with reverence. In that book of mine, when suffering knocks on your door, if you have the opportunity to read it, why do we suffer? Because we are human, we are naturally limited. The suffering is born from the limit. I am limited, so I can't escape suffering. The suffering will knock on the door of every person. Sooner or later, we will face all dimensions of suffering. Physical suffering, affective suffering, spiritual suffering. We suffer from losses. We suffer from jealousy. We suffer from pain. We suffer from death. All of this is part of the human condition. No human being is free to face. Today, for example, we are all with the news that I was particularly scared. Such a young boy who found that he has that lymphatic cancer. By the time he said this sentence, I'm ready for the fight. This is the most coherent attitude of those who want life. Because when suffering knocks on your door, you may well surrender to it. Or you can welcome you well in your life and establish a pact with it. Okay, I'll manage you, but I don't want you to take me. This is the wisest attitude. Difficult. Radically changes a person's life. We already know that this boy is an affected reflection, says he is a very intelligent boy, not a silly guy. But a moment like this brings a lot of maturity. How many people, when facing suffering, they go beyond? Look. They go beyond. So, at this moment, it is important to what you suffer. Know how to manage what you suffer. What is being the limit? The care experience minimizes this suffering. The family is present, taking care of suffering. What is with us? What we love is a very concrete way of love. I am next door. I participate. I am not indifferent. It is like that, my son. This is how we can decrease the weight of suffering in the world. Suffering has no way. Everyone suffers. And it would be a nonsense of our part to think that we will not have suffering, or that we can prevent suffering from coming to our life. Of course, I need to do everything to make my life marked by wisdom, so that I make the best choices, so that I suffer less. So, when I administer my life well, it is natural that I will be able to have before myself, who knows, a slightly quieter, slightly more harmonious life. But what about the accidents of life, and what I can't control? So here comes the moment of wisdom, that we make the experience of care, which is naturally human, a human experience of you to take care, that you make sense to what is happening. Then somehow, overcome what so much it hurts us, because every human being suffers. Human suffering It is born of the condition of being a creature. So I'm not perfect. I suffer from imperfections. For example, this week I lost my voice. Since Sunday, I'm still very bad. My voice is coming back slowly. This cough, I don't know what else to do. Already even sent Mars sulfur to see if making a syrup of this sulfur we improve. The body suffers because it has limits. Something I'm doing, something in my daily life has caused my wear. Of course, I think about it all the time. My mission is arduous. I travel too much. I have a lot of travel. I have a lot of events. And I have a very full life. All of this is a factor that I need to think. When I don't think about these factors and keep exposing myself in a wrong way to work, when I don't have due rest, I'm abusing my limit. So it is natural for my suffering to come. A 7-month-old child may not even make choices, and she already suffers from the simple fact of being a creature. There is no way we can remove the suffering of the creature, because it would be to deprive the creature of his freedom. A lot of people ask this question that I find absolutely unnecessary. Why does God allow suffering in the world? Because the world is world, and all worldly reality is naturally limited. If God is to interfere in this creature condition, if he will remove our limit, then he is radically contrary to our condition. What we need to do, and this is the way out for the second question, how can I do to minimize suffering in the world? Then we have the word care. The anthropological experience of caring and being cared for. Care is the human reality that helps us overcome, to circumvent the experience of suffering. We don't overcome totally, but somehow we make sense to him. We make sense in 2 dimensions, or because we understand it, even if we can't change, or because we, besides understanding, can interfere with him. We are following, for example, hunger in Somalia. It's a worldwide shame. It is unfortunate that we have the expense, that we know that it is published all the time, with weapons, with war instruments, with weapons of destruction, that countries invest so much because of this security that we say need to have. That if invest so much in weapons, and we forget about human issues, and that we stop taking care of human situations, and that exposes this shameful wound that is hunger. I think in a world with so much tech, how am I going to diminish this? In the experience of caring, how do I take care of the hungry in the world? When I look to my side and discover those who are closest to me and that I can reach. Of course, I can make a donation to get there in Somalia, but we also need to know that on our side, here, very close to us, there are people giving very urgent need, and that we can help. And this experience of taking care and being careful is that it makes us somehow be able to help this human limit. So if on the one hand I have no way to change my creature condition, on the other, I learn that care helps me in this creature condition.
Join us on Path of Faith, where we delve deep into the heart of spirituality, offering insights and inspiration to illuminate your path towards a deeper connection with God.
Murder this childish instinct that exists within you, which makes you afraid of life's discomfort. The discomfort of life, when well lived, it only makes us better. Take this little poor mask that you stick to your face for others to be eternally sorry for you. You only waste time in life like this. What a silly. God holds us in our hand is for us to be able to cross this desert. It is not to be falling forever and again eating the onions of Egypt, because we had pity of us. Because we had to pity the other. No, the walk is forward that goes, and the time comes when Moses arrives before God and speaks. Now you solve this situation. because I don't know what else to do. They have already built a gold reservoir halfway. They have already been confused. They are already worshiping even other situations. And they are not even remembering that the Lord exists. They just don't come back because they're too far away. But they return in another way. Do not return in geography. They do not return geographically because they were far from Egypt. They would die halfway. But they did not return geographically, but they returned affectionately, because sometimes we have already surpassed the territory of our physical slavery. I already got out of jail, but the jail didn't leave me. That's how it works. I already stepped towards my freedom, but I didn't achieve my freedom. I did not decree the conquest of my freedom. So I am affectionate me past, mourning the onions of Egypt, mourning the dating that ended, the situation that was over, the friendship that was betrayed. So when Moses is before the Red Sea and he gets terrified, because now they had nowhere to go, or cross the sea, or return to Egypt, and the Pharaoh's army was coming to capture them, which he does. He has a private meeting with the Lord, a particular urgent audience. Call God's secretary and speak. For God's sake. You ask him to serve me today, that I can no longer be without that answer. Pharaoh's army is coming. And then he thinks God would give him an easy answer, right? Was going to give a quick solution? No. What does God say? Remember, Gil. Remember? Run, right? Enter this water. Look what a strong phrase. Tell the people to walk. I will not do for you what only you can do. I will give all the graces to make the miracle happen. I will strengthen your courage. But if you do not put your foot in the water, if you do not challenge this sea, it does not open. And that's what the people did. Moses ahead, certainly full of fear too, right? Oh, my Father of mercy, what will happen now? When he started entering, putting his feet in the water, God does his part. My people, it doesn't even matter if it happened this same way. It matters to us is the fact that God does this daily in our lives. Whenever I encourage myself to overcome the seas that challenge me, I am exercising God's care in my life. Whenever I encourage myself to put my foot in the sea that threatens me, I am fulfilling the promise that he will always be by my side. You to do the same thing. Whenever you challenge your seas, whenever you face your discomfort, when you are not afraid of the discomfort that comes to you, when you look at him in front, you speak now? What are we going to do from this moment? What do you bring me good? What are you challenging me? I will recruit my best parts here, because that alone interests me. If discomfort comes to me, I need to cross this desert to know so I can reach this part of the promised land that awaits me. That's how it works. There is no magic formula for life. Although we did not believe God, we would have to live the discomfort that makes us grow. Even those who do not believe in God need to face the discomfort of his history, his existence. Now, of course, when we believe in God, when we credit that there is someone superior to us enabling us to make the crossing, an extra comfort is offered to us. Therefore, based on the experience of this comfort I have done, which you have done, at many times when this God's hand has taken care of us, and that we continue the process of walking confrontation. It is confrontation. The word is this. If we do not live the daily confrontations of our deserts, our conflicts, our fears, we will never come to the knowledge of the earth that he has prepared us. We go to a quick break. In a moment, we come back. We are back with the Spiritual Direction Program. Good night, Christian. Everything is right there? Let me greet you today? No. I think we recorded here before. I don't know what I did. It's just that I'm old. He's sleepy. If you look at Christian today, including I will ask you until you focus it a little more, it's more sleepy than normal today. It's almost sleeping. He said that the mosquitoes in his house have already gotten used to that little liquid that we put to burn, to scare. Look how interesting. I didn't even know what I was going to say. When I started singing the music, I was going to talk about God's protection in our lives. But I didn't know that I would end up in all the unprotecting protection. The discomfort of the road, the desert, as essential to human, non-naked human life. And that no naive religious view can prevent us from understanding life like this. Difficulty as a natural process in our lives. And then look at the text I had prepared for today, which is in Matthew 10, verse 34. Do not think that I came to bring peace to the earth. I didn't come to bring peace, but the sword. In fact, I came to put an opposition between the son and his father, the daughter and his mother, the daughter-in-law and her mother-in-law, in a special way. Play, it is not written here, and the enemies will be the family themselves. Who loves father or mother more than me is not worthy of me, and who loves son or daughter more than me is not worthy of me. Who does not take your cross and does not follow me is not worthy of me. Whoever seeks your life will lose it, and whoever loses his life because of me will find it. It is not Sao Paulo who is saying this, not John. It is Jesus. It is a text said by the Master himself. Look how interesting, my people. When you realize that this harsh word of Jesus, it is to help us understand the cross of life. He didn't come to pass butter on bread. He did not come to propose to him with each other. Christ himself tells us that this sword that he puts within our relationships is precisely to make us grow. It is to make the papers well. It is the confrontation experience that this we will live in our life. Do not think that your relationship with your mother is a beautiful relationship that will never be questioned. No, it's not like that. The mother and daughter relationship, if you do not establish this confrontation at the right time, peace is not enough, because that veiled conflict it's not like this. The same thing in our relationship indoors when you realize that it is existing, a conflict that never resolved because the issues were never put out. We never had the courage to put on the table. I remember well, the day because the minor has a hard time establishing a clash with his own mother. The mother is a sacred territory that we do not have the courage to question. And I remember this is very cultural. We come from a family, a matriarchal cultural structure where women have a very large power. And I remember right when this conscience came to me and I spoke to my mother, "Mother, I love you so much. But I am also able to hate her." Then we get that fright. No, the son hate his mother, not hatred for wanting to kill. Playing the window. That's not that. It is in the sense that you reject a number of aspects of her personality that are on you, and that you have taken over an imposition when you identify that there are aspects of your personality that are very similar to your mother, and that you deeply reject what we would like to have the right to break free. So, mother, you are a sacred territory, but I have to have the courage to recognize the excesses you teased in me. Then, my people, it seems that a sword cuts their hearts, right? But the resurrection that comes later because you disagree, you begin to have the courage to establish confrontations with all the respect your mother needs and deserves. Mother is a sacred territory that should never be disrespected, but can be contested at the right time and the right way. You chose to live like this. This is not my choice. So we need to keep loving. We can establish this clash, and we keep living with deep respect for each other. And so, when Jesus says that he brought this clash, this sword, is not to separate us from each other. No, it is to unite us the right way. Because sometimes a union only really happens after many conflicts. We need to get rid of the naive views. This person is perfect. Look how beautiful our love is. Then it lasts 2, 3 years until the princes remove the masks. And you find that it is just a rhino, which had a cute face at first, and is a monster capable of trampling everything you have sacred. So we remove the naive view of our relationships, and then you start to have a palpable terrain where love is possible. Yes, imperfect people can love and establish very beautiful, very edifying, very interesting relationships. But then from now on, I will dispute everything. No, it's not like that. Be wise. It begins to identify what in your life needs to be confronted. Many situations do not if they solve. It is because we don't tell each other that it bothers us. But we don't do the right way because we complain all the time. All the time we complain, we scream. But we do not confront. The confrontation is when you mark the time, the place, sit everyone at the table, or sits you and your husband and speak. Look, do you know what you were doing? This is not fair to me. It is not fair to your children. And if you do not make a decision, we will act. It's the same to be assaulted, right? There are people who get used to the aggression. Get used to the aggression? The whole life is assaulted and gets used to the condition of victim. It's not like this. It can't be like that. We have to problematize what in life is assaulting us. Because sometimes aggression is not a slap, it is not a kick. It is not a kick. It's a word, it's a look, it's a posture, it's a way of interpreting. So, if I interpret the other as an eternal territory where I can manifest all my wrath, where I can dump all my excesses, and he gets used to being it, I am assaulting very cruelly, as cruel as giving a slap. So, if we do not break, if we do not establish the confrontation that will break this process that gets sick, it is very likely that we die without having the possibility of stepping in the promised land we can reach. Then Jesus continues, "Who loves his father and his mother more than me is not worthy of me." We can at first think that Jesus is needy here, right? Oh, he just wants love for him. No, this is also a naive vision. Let's overcome these naive views. Here, the love that Jesus is speaking refers to the ability of us to take everything he teaches us and put it much more important as what my father and mother taught me. May my father and mother, because they are marked by sin, teach me a lot of things. Oh, but it teaches me a lot of wrong things. With his own example indoors. How many of us, you who are watching me, can you say that? How many wrong things in life did you see inside your home? And you don't have to go too far to see the perdition of the world. Sometimes it is inside, with a lack of testimony, with a lack of honesty, with a lack of truth. The vices we criticize so much that they are present around the world. Sometimes they are here inside our home, on our side, being promoted by people who love us, and giving an example to children who are growing up. Our sides need conversion. Yes, my people. So when Jesus speaks, "Who loves his father and his mother more than me, is not worthy of my kingdom." Why? Because that cannot reach the kingdom that is not convinced, touched, modified by the mind of Christ. It is Christianity. It is the mind of Christ in mine. It is the thinking of Christ in mine, and the good educator never gives his disciple the ready lesson. It would be a crime against the disciple to offer him the ready lesson. The master gives the certainty of his presence to withdraw any questions, to be able to help dissolve what is disrupting and harming learning. But at times, the disciple will have to live with his loneliness. The master silences and refuses to give the answer we seek so much. Isn't it like that in life? There are answers that God can only answer us through his silence. This is God's hand also supporting us. Because sometimes we have the illusion, and this is the result of a naive vision. Unfortunately, religious discourse throughout our lives can put us naive visions that God will do everything for us. That God does it. That God does that. It is true. We have the right to believe in divine protection, but we are not unaddressed to do our part, because it is a matter of wisdom, of maturity. The Father does this to his Son. I really like this expression. We only have the right to wait for the impossible after we did everything that was possible to us. So, God protects us, yes, but he also asked me to do my part in this protection. I pray to God for my life. I ask him to give me help. But I need to do my part so that this health is a reality in my life, isn't it? The care I have with me is an expression of my part, the miracle that I need to perform daily. So sometimes I identify the hand of God being present in my story, but not holding back as I think it holds. Yes, some helplessness are too important in our human process. It would be very interesting if we learned this from the crib, but unfortunately not. So it's never too late for us to learn. The depletion we sometimes feel in life is also the hand of God, because he who loves unprotects, so that you are exposed to what you need to live and try alone. His presence always looking at us, always guiding us, because this is very interesting. The more we grow, the more we mature in our experience with God, the greater the ability we have to hear and understand his voice in our history. So God protects me like this, even when he is distant, you know? It is not that it is distant, it is that we feel because of life situations. The context disadvantages to perceive this intense presence in our lives. So that moment of disconsolate, ah, my God, it seems that I am abandoned by the Lord. No, it is not. This disconsolation is part of his protection in our life, because those who love know very well that love also needs to go through the harsh experience of unprotection. Because too much love unprotects. It is not how it works. When a person is excessively protected in the background, otherwise there is a depletion, because that person cannot mature. So she will be eternally naive, be forever believing that she is inside a fairy tale, and life is not a fairy tale. So, believing in God's protection does not give us the right to think that God will do everything for us, that will walk for us. No, he will always be strengthening us ahead of these battles, that we will face ourselves. But we will be responsible for performing the part that fits us. It was like this with Moses. This song quotes Moses, right? It was this hand that helped Moses divide the sea into two. There is a great wealth in this passage that is in Exodus. When Moses is terrified because he withdrew the people from Egypt and came out towards this protected, not protected, promised land. See? But it's also a little protected, right? The promised land would be achieved, a promise God made to Moses, as long as he was encouraged to remove that people from slavery and cross the difficulties of the desert seas. Note that anyone who has had the opportunity to go to Israel knows very well what the desert is. You get into that desert to reach a place we don't know where it is, which is only in a man's heart, as a promise is a great difficulty. The people believed when, after Moses, began to live the restrictions of the desert. Hunger. He began to miss the onions. Because in Egypt they ate onion. In the time of slavery. You may have listened to this expression when someone advises you to mourn the past. What is to regret the onions of Egypt? That saying, oh, I was a slave, but I had that food. I had onion to feed. And now I'm free, but I have nothing. Give the desert time. Allow the desert to tell you what it needs to say. Even hunger, the restriction, it is very important in the human process. We identify all the time that people are spoiled because nothing has lacked. Terrible! When you have a child who has been pampered since childhood, she has not missed anything at all. And suddenly, in the breakdown of life, suddenly, that person needs to face the desert of life, and she has no enough ammunition to handle. Then do what? How do we face the desert? There, at that moment, when Moses removes the people from slavery and encourages to take this people through the desert, on their way to the promised land, they also feel afraid. He also does not know what he will be. That is why he all the time, through God's manifestations at that moment in Moses' life, he communicates with God. It is the epiphanies, which are these glorious manifestations of God there, through simple reality. It is the burning bush. It is the stone that gushes the water. Anyway, God is talking to Moses, giving him signs that he is on the right track, but does not deprive him of the desert's dispersion. Then, unprotected in that desert, materially speaking, he can make confidence in God that no other comfort had given. See how interesting it is? As unprotection, apparent disprotection, it is all reserved and behind the scenes care there. Just as you are a parent, and you create a restriction on your child so that he can mature, isn't it? Sometimes you take something out of your child so that he really misses it so that he can later value later. I say again, many people go wrong in their lives because nothing has lacked. Then you notice that when it is so much left can also cause an imbalance, a lack of confidence in life, in people. Anyway, it is the balance that works. When you start educating by placing protection and apparent unprotections, where that person will have to face the situation alone, even if you are seeing from afar. I faced situations in my extremely difficult life that the other was not enough to say, "I'm here." Why? Because they were mine. Even help, you look to the side, know that there is a friend with you, that there is a mother, that there is a father, a brother, but in many moments of our lives, this Calvary Isto be lived in solitude. That's when I need to live this feeling of being unprotected. Just as Moses lived by setting the discomfort of the desert, when facing those discomfort, he understood what the human condition is. So I also make this experience. You do? I don't want to spend my life in white clouds. I don't really want to. And that's why since a boy, when life was hard to me, I found something in that discomfort that made me think louder, that made me think beyond. Moses, living the discomfort of the desert, needed to convince those next to him that that discomfort would be worthwhile. But some wanted to go back to slavery. Look how it is. Many people. I will give you a simple example for you to understand. There are people who need to break with dating who are terrible, disastrous. That person only hurts you. You know it. But you have a bond with them. You have affective need. You can't break that relationship. So you suddenly encourage yourself, you get all clear before you. That person doesn't do me good. I can't marry that person. Because if in the time of dating is already like this, imagine at the time of my marriage, then in my married time, will become a worse hell than it is already. Then you encourage yourself, motivated by people next to you, to break. It's terrible the day you break. Suffering is cruel within you. It seems that you will never recover again, that you only think of that person. Why? Because although it makes you so bad, you have a sick bond with it, of affective dependence. You know she is bad for you, but you don't know how to live without her. Then you start to take steps. The first week is horrible. You suffer. You cry. You can't hear the music. You can't smell. You can't see that little piece of, I don't know what he forgot at your home. That all that is terrible. But suddenly you start taking liberation steps. It's like you are walking towards a land that will only do you good. And a month later, that suffering got better. 2 months later, that better suffering. And suddenly you are no longer remembering that there is still a silent bond being disarmed. Because affective dependence, it does not die overnight. We need it. It's as if you are choking a cancer cell with the chemotherapy process, you know? That you are removing the life of the cancer cell, which is the cell that kills us. Then let's say 3 months later, you meet again with that person and you have that famous relapse. There it is ready. The castle you were building, the floor you had walked, that had been so difficult you throw away and you come back to Egypt. You return to slavery. You do the same as Moses' companions wanted to do. Eat onion again, eat the rotten, damaged food again. Then you resume that relationship because it is sick and you have not taken care of the proper distance you should maintain. Because when you have this affective dependence, You have to establish the distance, because otherwise you don't heal. You have to stop wanting to know about that person's life, because otherwise you don't heal. You needed to stop running down her Facebook, because otherwise you don't heal. You need to stop investigating your life. Where did she go? Who was she with? You have to cease all the points that may make you want to go back to Egypt, because otherwise you will never break free. Then, 3 months later, you are beautiful and beautiful already, killing the carcinogenic cell. You will give more kisses in the mouth, come back to that horrible dependence, and hell returns in your life. In your first week is even good that everything is returning. In a moment, my daughter, you are in hell worse than you were 3 months ago. And so, when we do not know how to live the discomfort that builds us, we get boycotted all the time. It's like stopping drinking, it's like stopping smoking. You run out of smoking a year and you celebrate because you stopped throwing that cancer toxin on your body. And suddenly you go there and light a silly cigarette and that addiction comes back like a monster capable of eating you whole lot. All that sacrifice you made of the early days without smoking go to the bag. Why? All that sacrifice goes to the bag. Why? Because you were not able to live the discomfort of renouncing. My people, it is impressive how this hand of God helps us like this, making us aware of what we need to break in our lives. These are situations that we need to set limits for them, because otherwise we will never be healed. We will be eternally ill in line with the needy, crying and begging a bolt of kindness of the other, a roll of affection for each other. For God's sake, we were not made for it. We were not made to drag affectionately dependent on others. We were made to love. And love has only meaning in our life if it is to build us, if it is to help us cross the discomfort of the desert. Otherwise, it makes no sense. This pseudo-love, this false love, which sometimes we say feel about each other, which does not help us in the discomfort of the desert. I need to live my deserts. You need to live yours. And true friends are those who recognize the deserts that the other needs to pass and speak. That's right. Let's go through this desert because you need it. Now, Apolloniana, she wants that happy, ordained life. Remember that character? Apolloniana, where everything was the happy game, right? So as to because the foundation had the museum there, with many pieces that needed to be restored, had no money for that. We sought the partnership with CCOCNI and SESI, and are there receiving qualified training and then not only renovating the images, doing the restorations that the museum needs, but then can also work elsewhere and take the profession forward. And what is interesting is the first class that will have this formation in Brazil and will come out of Taubaté. There are 26, it looks 26 or 27, young, specializing in restoration of images. So, it's worth thinking about it. Today, many times, people are facing unemployment because everyone is with the diploma, but doesn't know how to do much with that diploma. So the diploma is important, it is. Terms academic training is important, it is. But we must not forget that technical training is as important as, and today there is a vast labor market needing these professionals and lacking specialized labor to happen. I have a doubt. I live a very delicate relationship with my mother. I don't feel a love coming from her, and it hurts me a lot. How can I do to try to improve this? These difficulties between mother and daughter, they have a root. It is important for us to know where this difficulty began. Is there any fact of your life? Is there a moment in your story when you realized that he was a watershed to change the way your mother treated you? Have this conscience. Seek within you first. True, I never thought. Where is my relationship with my mother to be difficult? Because it looks at first of life, by the way. Psychologists say that, which is the deepest bond we can have in life, is mother and son. It is the bond because the child is born. The father already has a deficit of 9 months. For 9 months, we are gestated within the womb of a woman. It is impossible for us not to have a close relationship with it. It starts there. But as we are thrown out of the world, where we start to live, we will have a context that does not have the same belly protection. So we are exposed to their own competition with our brothers. While you are inside your mother, she has an exclusive dedication to you. When you leave, you start to compete with your brothers. It pays to divide the space with the people who are part of your mother's world. And it's usually at these times when something makes the crystal break, right? But this relationship, it needs to be cared for. Because we will find that at one point we begin to dispute affections. This is natural in human life. This dispute is natural within our homes. It is an unconscious process, even if we do not know it. We are vying for attention all the time, and the more conscience we have of it, the better we will manage. Many problems at home between father and son are precisely directly linked to this competition. Is it a child wanting to be better than the other? Why? Because I know that when I'm better, I have my mother's attention. Or is the one wanting to be the worst? Because since he can't be the best, he will be the worst of all, because he knows that at least anger he will provoke. He will take attention. Or rather, he will draw that attention. So the family environment is an environment of disputes. There is no other way. And that's why we need to manage these disputes well consciously. When you realize that you are being dishonest with your mother, demanding from her what she can't give her, being selfish, forgetting that she needs to take care of her and other too. So many times these traumas, a lot of people who stay like this, my mother doesn't like me. She likes my brother much more than me. Needs to be very careful about it, because sometimes we are being unfair. Or you who are a mother need to be careful, because sometimes you are really preferring a child. And that's natural, guys. Sometimes that son corresponds a little more to his expectations. Sometimes he is a little more like you. It's natural. It's easier for us to like those who are similar to us, with whom they have the same predilections. So you need to be very careful not to reject, not put aside the one who somehow has difficulty with you. The family bond? It needs to be well administered because of disputes. He has. Where there is human being, there is this natural process. This dispute. I want to have my father's attention. I want to have my mother's attention. I want to have the attention of my brothers. And we act often around this affective search. Interesting, guys. But at affection, it's the greatest need we have in life. And what is effective life? You love and be loved all the time. A priest who has good friends, who has good human relationships, solids, he will be much easier to live his chastity than the one who does not have, than the one who is alone, than the one who is closed in your world. Within our home, affection is the main food. You can observe. It is the affection that makes us realize our lives. It is how much we were loved just right. Neither too much nor less. When we are too loved, we get too bored. We get too sly. We want to do everything to be done according to our will. When we are loved from less, we are needy. Often aggressive. The two opposites are bad. But now, balance makes us a little firmer in life. It is this balance of affections. So I am in a place where there is naturally a competition to be more loved than the other. This is natural in human life. But then we start managing this. Who needs to manage? Everyone. I, as a son, need to be honest. No. My mother gives me attention, but she has to pay attention to each other too. I am not alone inside this house. I won't be selfish. And my mother and father will also have this sensitivity. It's easier to love that child, so let's be careful not to love him too much and forget about others. This is how life works. The affection, it needs to be rationalized from time to time, because if he is just him, we risk being unfair to each other. The affection for himself, if he doesn't have a little reason helping to lighten him, he can be highly destructive. It's that old story. We love so much. And when we love, we suffocate. We don't allow the other to grow. And that is dangerous. So this balance we need to do. We are all in need of this transformation, this conversion. And we expect you to relieve your heart. And today, maybe this program can help you put a detail of holiness in your life, and you go to sleep a little better than when you woke up. Father Fabio, I'm 29 years old, and I've been thinking a lot about how much it seems to be harder, Ray. The more I fight to get something, the farther it seems to me. I did not give up. I did postgraduate, and now I'm taking a technical course in computer science. Even so, I can only work temporary. Many people who have graduated with me have already got a diploma. They are working. But I, as I said, only with temporary jobs. Why my professional life? In my professional life, everything seems to be so difficult. Priest. My daughter, sometimes we live a few moments of life when everything seems kind of tied. A little truncated. I have a friend that I tell him this from time to time. Everything goes wrong for him. Oh, his bank card blocks every week. He will take money. The money does not come out. But it is said that afterwards he left, he has to get a mess on the bench again. Everyone receives the right correspondence with his password. His does not come. So sometimes we think that, I'm going to use an ugly term. Right. It seems that someone else is shit vulture. We talk. Sorry for my ugly expression, but this cannot apply to our lives. We have to do everything so we never have this complex. Because if you have this complex that things only go wrong for you, it is possible that you psychologically are willing to these problems. You have to start thinking more positive and start discovering in your posture. Is there no way for your way of triggering all these dice out? Because I don't believe in lack of luck. I don't really believe. I don't believe in luck or lack of luck. I believe in insight, in attitude. People in life need to have attitude for life to work out. You may speak, Father, but she was displeased. She was in an unfavorable situation. All good. But life needs to be all the time to lighten so that we are the right person at the right time. Is not true? Often things go wrong for us is because we do not have this breath of starting to have. Stay tuned. Now it's time to do that. The diploma hasn't left yet, because it must be missing an attitude of going there. Of demanding what is your right. College cannot neglect your diploma. It is not possible that after 4 years of college, you are still in need of your diploma, and he is not in your hands. So often, the attitude on our part is missing. You know, my people, sometimes I see we are educated inside. Sometimes you find people, I was educated in such a context where we are very shaped with things not to give a right. I needed at some point in my life almost to do a psychic chemotherapy, right? Expel it from me. Sometimes we house within us a very conformed spirit. This is very natural to simple families who have used not to have the opportunity. So it always looks like this with the head, but it hasn't worked yet. But why didn't it work? Yeah, I went there and they couldn't explain to me. This we cannot admit. The world will not oppose the one who knows where he wants to go. Now, if you are kind of soft, without attitude, it is very likely that things start going wrong for you. That's why I'm saying we need to be careful all the time to do the thing the right way. Now, you played on an issue that I find fundamental in education of our children and in society these days. We have an excess people graduated in college. Diploma is not lacking in this world today, see? now lacks technical specialty. So isn't it time for us to start thinking a little about the options we are doing? You who are young, you who are thinking that college will do, think twice, see? Because sometimes a well-done technical course will give you a lot more job opportunity than a diploma in hand. By the way, I am having the joy of taking over there in the diocese, now the vice presidency of the Dom Kudo Foundation. And the Dom Kudo Foundation is an institution, not a foundation, from the diocese, which aims to do good, do charity. Only we no longer want welfare works. We know that welfare can accommodate people. And do you know what is the main work of the Dom Kudo Foundation today? Training and training of young people in vocational areas. By the way, this is the way. If today we want to effectively help a person, it is to give them the opportunity to learn the crafty. If you, for example, take all the technical areas in the world today, the specialized work. So I need a bricklayer in my house. My father was a bricklayer. My brothers learned the craft, but only one of them who still works today as a bricklayer. Today I have friends there in Itabate who work as a construction company. They speak, Father, if today rain 20 church there in Itabate, still lack of labor for so much service. So often we are heading to college and we are forgetting the practical professions. The moment will come when we will need an electrician. We will not have. There will be the time we will need a bricklayer. We will have. Why? Because everyone is heading to colleges for that, to that. But practical life is losing space. So if you have the possibility to do something, if you have suddenly a fitness, oh, I like to mess with thread. I like it. Go study. You will take an electrician technical course, will be empowered. Leave this story that everyone has to have a university diploma because it is already passing, see? Even this is a reflection that we need to do because many of our children will face serious problems of unemployment in the future because of the excess of faculties that we have today in Brazil, which has become a business, right? Everyone today has college. Our cities are crowded with college. And many times when we need a good employee who knows how to do a good carpentry service, joinery, we don't have. And this is a matter that is worth it. So, take action. Then I was telling the foundation, do you know what the first class will be formed now? They are experts in the restoration of images.